Shalom, and welcome to another edition here on the Genesis 49ers page, where we say no to vague interpretation and we give thorough breakdowns.
Genesis 49ers, we back, but never moving backwards. Here to put Israel on the atlas. Y'all know the slogan. We say no to vague interpretations and we give thorough breakdowns. Man, last night was monumental. We was able to ask our questions to Jabari. I was able to get in a few, a quick 1-2 punch combo. The shadow punch. Muhammad Ali threw the shot, Sonny Liston knocked him out. You know what I'm saying? 1 round fight. I was able to, really get this brother off his swear with the Maxims of Ptah Hotep, which I'm planning to do a exclusive video for Maccabeestv on that topic, just talking about the Maxims. The question I asked him just completely crushed everything he says, and he said he's not going to hide anything that's in there, or he's not afraid to hide. He's not afraid of any strip of the textual criticism that he's receiving. But we have to ask Jabari, why was this not addressed before? Now, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to play the video we did on Vortex Media. It was a live Google Hangout, and I was fortunate enough to be on the panel. Thanks to my brother D-Red. Good looking, bro. So I was allowed to get on there, and I had the 1-2 punch combo for him, and we're gonna see how it panned out. It didn't end good for him.
Sure. I think he gave us a pretty thorough answer to the question, whether people accept it or not. It was a good answer. I think we got my man Joshu in the house. Joshu, do you have a question or comment for our brother Jabari?
Yes, I have a question.
All right.
I want to ask him about the Maxims of Ptah Hotep. That's the earliest work, right? That's the earliest complete work, you said. And why is it androcentric? Guy that you're like, Egypt has this rich abode for women in the literature. So why don't we see it reflected in its early text? Why is it written in a sense of being androcentric and not, equally for the woman and the man? Why is it written on the behalf of the man and not the woman?
Well, let me say something to you. First of all, the Maxims of Ptah Hotep were written from an older man to his spiritual son. So that we are actually reading a book that was written to a particular person. I'm not even sure if Ptah Hotep intended that the book would be available to a larger group of people. I don't know if he intended that. I do know that he's writing it.
Now, you can see he's already filibustering. He's already buck dancing. He's already, getting his Cupid shuffle on. Now, do your dance, do your dance. Now, do your dance, do the left, to the left. He getting this jig on right now. He really dancing around what I asked him. But it gets worse. It gets worse.
To a person, right? And that person is his spiritual son. So yes, it's written from.
I understand.
So wait, so let me finish. Now I want to be really clear that I will continue to argue that the Maxims of Ptah Hotep say many things that tell us that they that is not attempting to be patriarchal. The first maxim, I believe it's the first maxim, says, and this is an older man at the age of 110 speaking to a younger man who was just getting his life started. He says, do not be arrogant with your wisdom. The greatest knowledge can be found amongst the women who toil all day at the grindstone. He's talking about the average women who actually grind the bread. It's really backbreaking work. And so when you have that kind of approach, when that is the way that you view femininity and the importance of women, I would argue that while this is one book written from a man to another man, to a young man, it is still not patriarchal. It's not.
I'm about to make him eat his words. He said this document is not patriarchal, even though it's androcentric. and it's written for men. And he's right. It does talk about, it gives women credence. But that's the thing. The Bible gives women credence on having wisdom as well. In various passages. The most famous one is Proverbs 31 when it says she should open her mouth with wisdom. But I'm about to make him eat crow. He is about to eat his words. He said it's not patriarchal.
Not about the hierarchy of men.
So okay. With that being stated, do you agree with everything that's written in the Maxims?
I think that it should be clear that there are good translations and there are bad translations.
There's 4 accredited translations.
There is. Say again.
On record, there's 4 accredited translations. I have the earliest one. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
There's 4 accredited translations, and I have the earliest one, and I want to read from it, and I want to see do you agree with it, because you make a lot of statements about the Bible saying it's misogynistic and we want a system and the man's over the woman, but it seems like this document that you keep referring to is an agreement with the Bible, because when you read the Maxim,
let's hear it, brother.
It says, but keep her, talking about your wife, but keep her far from power, control her. For her eye is quick and sharp. Watch her carefully, for thus you will cause her to remain long in your house. That sounds like the man's in charge. Keeping his wife in check. That's in the Maxims of Ptah Hotep.
That's a bullet.
So you can't be biased. You can't be biased.
Uh-oh. Hold on. One second.
Ready for my...
1 second. Read that one more time for me, man. Then we're going to go to Jabari. And I want the priest to explain that.
Okay, go ahead. Let's hear you. Let's hear you read it one more time.
It says, but keep her far away from power. Control her. For her eye is quick and sharp. Watch her carefully. For thus you will cause her to remain long in your house. That sounds like the man is in the dominant role and position.
Sounds
and
a little
keeping his wife.
It certainly sounds.
Now, before I brought that information out, see, this is what they hope. These people that supporting this Kemet regime and bashing our culture, they hope that we don't study this stuff. They hope that, we hope these guys don't look into this information, because there's a lot of things that's found in the literature, in the Kemetic literature, the Egyptian literature, that contradicts a lot of the things they say, a lot of the notions they make, a lot of the sentiments they carry. And instead of being objective scholars, like when you open up the Bible, you get the good, bad, and the ugly. The Bible tells you about the wickedness that our people have committed, and the good things they committed. The Bible talks about that. These people don't want to be honest. You know, he's saying that the Bible's patriarchal, it's misogynistic, and all these things, but the Maxims of Ptah Hotep, and if you ever watch Jabari, he always brings up the Maxims. He always glorify it. But it's something, when I brought it up and basically, busted his bubble with this, showing you that they were patriarchal, and this was a king that was divinely inspired. We're going to get into that later. And I'm going to read from the actual Maxims and read where it talks about him, dealing with deities and being divinely inspired. That this man said, control your wife, man. Don't be no sucker. Run your household. Watch her. And she will last in your household. She'll live there for a long time. She won't go nowhere. The scriptures say the same thing in Sirach. I wasn't able to do it on a live show, but it said, where no hedge is, the possession is spoiled. So that's building a hierarchy within the household. Now, if you're so pro-Kemet, you wouldn't have no problem with that. But watch him do the Kemetic shuffle, the Cupid shuffle. Now, do your dance, Now, to the left, to the left, to the left. Now, kick, now, kick. He was doing all that. He was really out of his zone. He was off his square. Because a Hebrew brother showed him in a Kemetic work that he loves that's of repute, right? That's reputed as the world's oldest complete book, according to Jabari Osase. In that book, the sentiment is the man controls his wife. In the world's oldest complete book, according to Jabari, the most complete book, the sentiment is the man, it says, keep her far from power. Control her. Watch her. Don't let these commissions fool you. These pseudo priests fool you. Then you want to come to our Bible, where we have more prominent women than Egypt. He said, oh, well, the queens, they were ruling. They ruled by themselves. We have more women that ruled independently. Queen Anas, Queen Athalia. We can go on. Queen Dido of Carthage. We can go on. We had Salome of the Hasmonean dynasty. I got another video coming for the women. The prominent roles is gonna blow a lot of y'all minds, because we are gonna bring a more interesting angle on the women and their role. But this, when I brought out the Maxims of Ptah Hotep and what it actually says, instead of just referencing the name and having everybody awed by the name, let's read it. Let's start reading these texts that they keep bringing up, and you're gonna see that a lot of these commissioned scholars are gonna have egg on their face. She's subjugated.
First of all, let me say to you that that does sound patriarchal. It does. I don't agree with that particular translation of the book, and I think that you should know that there are several African-centered scholars who are retranslating the book.
Now, if I was to tell Jabari after he read something out of the King James Version, because a lot of the people, in my circle know that I do not subjugate myself to one translation of the Bible. I always say we need to go to other works, such as the Targumic scriptures, go into the Septuagint, the Peshitta, and we get a well-rounded understanding of the scriptures. If I was to tell him that, oh, brother, but this is what the Christian Bible says, you know, what Jabari has, a problem Jabari has is what we call a double standard. He has a double standard because if we tell him something, oh, it has to be misogynistic. But no, brother, there's good examples where women are loved and treated fairly and exceeding, well, and becoming prominent figures within the Israelite paradigm. But he will block that out of his mind just to push the misogynistic thing. He doesn't believe women should be ran by their husband. But it's right there in the Maxims of Ptah Hotep. Regarded by Jabari as the world's oldest, most complete book. Now, watch him disown it. Watch him defame it and discredit it. Watch.
There are several translations of that book. There are more than 4 that I'm aware of. And so there's some that I agree with. And hold on a second.
There's 4 accredited.
Hold on. I don't know how you accredit a translation. I don't know what that means.
Meaning it's accredited by scholars. He knew what I meant. We're not talking about Joe Smo from the street. He thought he could translate it. He translated it. I'm talking about accredited by the collegiate world. There's 4. And the oldest one, I have the PDF, and I was reading it to him. The one that's regarded and reputed as the oldest one. That was what I read from. That's where I sourced from. So he talking about he doesn't know what accredited means. Come on, man. You know what the hell accredited means.
Credited. So, I honestly, there's even a really great scholar. I don't know if you know Brother Sanjetti. Brother Sanjetti is working on a retranslation of the text as we speak. There are some translations that have some things I agree with and some that don't. I'm waiting very, very
Wait a minute,
diligently.
Jabari.
Let me finish. I'm in the middle of a sentence.
But
right?
it's like, I'm real quick though. You can't get away with that because you can't say like that whole translate, like even if it's a word that you might disagree with, you saying that whole thought could be different. Like, come on.
I am saying that the word power is one that I disagree with in that text.
Okay.
That is the word that I disagree with. I don't think that is the best usage of that particular term.
So what about control her?
Let me finish. I am actually looking forward greatly to the translation that Brother Sanjeti comes up with. We're going to sit down and talk in a very disciplined way about his translations, about what he finds. And I think that we are going to there's going to be a lot that I will agree with, and there may be some things I don't agree with. But definitely, I think that is something that we should definitely approach and analyze. And you are right to ask about that passage. I would not hide a passage. I would not I don't agree with that translation, but maybe Brother Sanjeti is going to prove to me that that's the correct translation. If it is, I'm going to read it in context and say that that's not something that we should be using. That's what I'm going to say.
You see how biased he is? First of all, you're depending on Sanjeti. So all your marbles is on him now. You're gambling with him. And if he comes back and tells you that's the correct translation, he's going to just deny it and say we shouldn't use it. But wait a minute, you've been championing the Maxims your whole existence on YouTube, or your whole existence on Sonetta and debate in the debate realm. You've been championing it over and over again. But now that you see that something is patriarchal, which you're against, even though Egypt was mainly patriarchal, you said the flower of your heart, or whatever you said, you're enamored with Egypt, even though Egypt was dominated by males. Only 4 queens ruled without a co-regent. We had more queens that ruled without a co-regent in Israel. Understand that. But that's another topic. That's for a future video that I'm going to do and release on Genesis 49ers. Again, we say no to vague interpretations. This brother has given us vague interpretations about the Maxims this whole time. Not diving into it. I've read the whole Maxims of Ptah Hotep because he kept bringing it up. And I'm going to read Jesus Wars too. I'm going to read it from cover to cover. Any pseudoism I see in there is getting exposed. I will do a whole video dedicated to the phony book Jesus Wars, which is, everybody regards that as not being credible. But hey, back to the topic. He said if it's like that, then he's going to say we're not going to follow it. Well, you got to stretch a lot of things out of ancient Egypt then. You got to stretch a lot of sources away. You got to stretch a lot of sources away. Because it was mostly male dominated. It was a patriarchal society. Now, patriarchal society doesn't mean hatred for women. That's what he wants to translate that to. Oh, then it has to be for hatred for women. No, we love our women. We love our wives. We love our daughters. We love our mothers. The scriptures tell you that. That's not culture. Now, evil men might go outside of the law or outside of the regulations and break that. But that doesn't change the divine order. And for you to just turn your back on something that you claim to support so much, the Maxims, I'm like, you should be ashamed of yourself. I don't know what else to say. I'm lost for words. You really put infamy on your name when you did this.
It's that simple. This is a book that was written from a wise man for a young man who was starting his life, right? It's not a book. Here's the difference between this book and what some people say about the Bible. There are many people who believe that the Bible is literally the word from the Creator translated by humans. And I think that the Maxims of Ptah Hotep was written by a wise man for a young man. I'm not saying that these are the very words of Tehuti. I'm not saying that. But the reason why I cite it, and one of the reasons why I cite it, is because it is the world's oldest complete book, and that Africans wrote the world's earliest complete book. The same people that have been told that they cannot read, the same people who have been told that they cannot be scholars, that they cannot have higher education. So I think
heard you, Jabari, but I believe you're filibustering. I believe you're filibustering me right now. I think you're going somewhere else with it. It does seem, and the text seems androcentric. That's my point. Androcentric, and it is inspired by deities. We find it in the text.
When you say inspired by deities, what do you mean?
They reference the deities in the actual work.
Of course they do.
They say,
I don't take issue with that.
So is it divinely inspired? Is it divinely inspired?
I think that this is a wise man writing a book. When you say divinely inspired, are you? Well, I want to be clear about what you mean when you say divinely inspired. Explain to me what you mean when you say divinely inspired.
Is it approved by the divine?
The Neteru. So hey, let me just shoot real quick. Let me clear something up. All right, Jabari, you're lucky I ain't got my son at a buck dancing music right now, because I gotta admit you're doing a little bit of a shuffle here. And let me clear this. And even on this divine,
explain what you think I'm shuffling so I can clarify.
First of all, the text is
so you can see that he basically was dancing, avoiding it, filibustering, just to get around the fact that he was exposed. He got exposed. It's just that simple. There's no way around it. So this is what we got to start doing. We astute. We're scholars. Genesis 49ers, you know what we do. If you've been a subscriber to the channel, you know we stick to the sources. We bring source material after source material. I give you a presentation. I give you a full course meal, food for thought. I don't do what Jabari says. He just references a book, doesn't dive into it. How many times have we heard him talk about Jesus wars? They discredit. You need to read this, but he never opened it up and read it. I never seen him cite it. I never seen him, read from it. If it's such a good book, read from it. And if the Maxims is such a good thing, read from it. Show us how good it is. I read the whole Maxims of Ptah Hotep, and the sentiments and the notions that I was getting from it is diametrically opposed to what the brother is teaching. Jabari, what you're teaching is diametrically opposed to what the Maxims say, because it says to control your woman, keep her far away from power. You can disagree with the translation all day. You can buck dance all day. It's not going to change the fact what it says. It's not going to change the fact that this ancient Egyptian writing, some say the 6th dynasty is when this came into fruition, or the 12th dynasty, somewhere in between there. Some say maybe the Middle Kingdom. The point is, it's an old work, and you basically denied it. You denied it, like Ptah when he heard the crow, or not the crow, but y'all understand the analogy.
Clearly, I mean, you did admit, you said it was patriarchal, right?
No, I did not say that. I did not say that.
It sounds pretty patriarchal.
This is one of the things that you do, Lex Vortex. If I was a little more tired, when we talk, someone will say something, I'll say something else, and you say, well, you agree with what I said. And I said, no, that is not what I said.
That is patriarchal. If we go back in the tape, after he read it, Jabari, you said,
I said, the passage that you're reading does sound like it's about a man trying to control a woman. I agree with what you said. I also read you another passage that deals with the fact that the very first thing that Ptah Hotep says is that women can be the wisest people in the land.
Well, see, again, no passage.
Again, the women being wise or having good advice, my version says they have good advice and they have wisdom. Doesn't change the fact that the Maxims teach that you got to control your wife, watch her, and she will remain in your house. It doesn't change that fact. This is the type of biased scholarship we have to rid from our community. He's being totally subjective and not objective. Excuse me. It's very early in the morning. So we can see, Jabari, you got crushed. You got your wig split on this one. You're leaking. Your jugular got punctured. All that. You really got. You got KO'd, man. You know, Teddy Pendergrass. It's another TKO. So you can continue doing your little comedic shuffle to the left, to the left, to the left. Now kick, now kick. You lost, man. And every time you bring up anything concerning the Bible, Genesis 49ers is going to be there to expose you, man. You're going to get exposed. We're going to show you, wait a minute. Let's look at the text. Let's analyze it. And I got some questions for you, Jabari, or any other proponent that's trying to go against our tradition, our history as being the Israelites.
Can't do it because you
can't do what?
You can't go to another quote where he's saying women can be the wisest in the land or whatever and not deal with this quote, because that's the same way when people you'll point something out in the Bible, and then like the pastor the other day brought you to Genesis where he was trying to show you that the woman was made as a helpmeet and not just as some servant to slap around, and you go, yeah, that's fine there, but it's still the other places I have a problem with. So now you're trying to go to another place.
Well, let me say this.
Hold on, let me just finish real quick. You're going to another place and you're not dealing with this specific part here. And then you said, well, it's just a wise man writing a book. And it's like you want to take away, I don't know, we're going to have to get clarity on what you feel about the divine. And brother, as do priest, if you're a priest, there's no doubt that your spirituality, you're supposed to be connected to the divine in a more closer relation. That's why you're a priest.
What do you mean in a more closer relationship than who?
Than a regular person who's not a priest.
That's not necessarily true.
So this dude is just a wise man, but he's not connected to anything spiritually divine.
No, I didn't say no. What I'm disagreeing with is that as a priest, you must be more connected to the divine than the people who are not priests. The fundamental tenet of Kemetic spirituality is that we are all divine. That's the fundamental principle of Kemetic spirituality.
Come on, we know that. That's just
okay.
Like,
but you're saying that as a priest, I have to be more divine.
We're all divine, but we're not all aware of our divinity, my brother. So, Jabari,
there's true. Yes, I would agree with that statement.
All right. So
I agree with that statement you just said.
That's the difference between a priest and someone who's just walking down the street.
It might be
shops and popping guns.
It might be
divine, but he doesn't have the awareness. But he's not.
Here's what I'm saying. It is possible that you are not a priest and that you still have a deep connection to the divine.
Right. But in general, if you're a priest, you're cultivating your divinity, right? You will agree with that.
So I would agree with that assessment. Yes.
Right. And if a man's writing the Maxims, then he's not just a wise man. Anybody can say they're a wise man. He's cultivating. He's cultivated his divinity. He's writing divine words. Metoneta means divine words, don't it?
I would agree with that assessment.
All right. Okay. But you tried to like kind of squeeze out of that. But let me go back.
No. I didn't try to squeeze out of anything. I'm saying that the difference is that we are talking about a man who, in his wisdom, wrote. So I think that the book is full of wisdom. 37 maxims that can be useful. That's what I believe. I think that it's extremely helpful. I use the Maxims of Ptah Hotep daily. I use it all the time.
He doesn't use them because he doesn't control his wife. He believes that if he does that, he's going to get kicked out. He believes that being patriarchal is wicked.
I'm not saying what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to counter the difference between the Bible and the Maxims of Ptah Hotep.
If that statement is in the Bible, Jabari.
Say again?
you would have tore it up. You would have went right to
Thank you.
You would have opened that book and you said, look, in Genesis such and such, look what it says about a man and how he's trying to treat his wife. He's trying to dominate and keep knowledge and power from his wife. And this is clearly European. It seems like we got some European in your
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Let's be absolutely clear. When I look at that text, the Pastor Russ said to me that man was made as a helpmate. That sounds nice, but in context of the rest of the things that are said in that book, helpmate can sound something quite different. Let's be absolutely clear that in that same text, we see things like man was made from God, but woman not made from God. Woman is made from man, and therefore woman is for man, but man not for woman. These are the kinds of things we see in that same exact text. So that when you read a text like that, and then you hear that that the woman was made as a helpmate, it doesn't quite sound as lofty as the pastor would have liked for it to sound. Because I think that when you read it in the context of the rest of the book, being a helpmate sounds like a lower status to me. It certainly does.
Let me share this with you real quick, my brother, and then we're gonna go.
Can I ask another question, or is that my time?
No, you got it. I just want to show Jabari something real quick. In this text,
please let me get next.
Everybody, we're gonna start moving quick. I just want to show Jabari something here that's in Genesis 5:2, Jabari.
Mm-hmm.
And let me share my screen with the people real quick. Because that's what I'm saying. That's why you hear people say, y'all got to understand the text in its totality. Because you just said something else about Adam, Eve being brought out of Adam and this stuff right here, right? And the connotation. Genesis 5:2, right? No, what is it? Is it 5:2? Why is 2 missing here? Let me check.
You have to type in Genesis 5:2, I believe, for you to be able to get the actual. I'm not sure why it's making it look that way.
Yeah,
do some strange
anyway,
things.
I can read it right here, just in this little thing. This was where I was getting at. Male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they created. So in a sense, right, when you're reading that, this is telling you the way the story's written sometime, man and woman together were called Adam. Did you know that?
I have read that passage before. I think that that's a very interesting passage. It's a very interesting passage.
It's more than interesting because that's what I'm saying in terms of what you were saying before about reading other parts of the story. Well, if she was made for his rib and then brought to him, that's not understanding the complete story, because at the end of the day, when it gives you the generations, it's telling you male and female were created together and their name were called Adam. So that's what I'm saying. This book is not for everyone like that.
So let me ask you though. So then let me ask you about 1 Corinthians 11.
I don't want to hop on that right now. I want to.
Oh boy, you just said to me. Wait. Let me just say something. You just said to me that if I read that, it gives me another perspective on what I said. I just want to read to you what I actually said, and then you tell me what the perspective is. Because you're connecting it to something I said.
We'll get back to that. I want to get to Jachube's next question.
Okay, go ahead.
We still got other people that hasn't got to go yet.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What was your next question? Then we go on to Consul.
I'm gonna be real, quick and concise with this one. You are aware that there are many prominent women within the Bible and within the Israelite tradition. You are aware there's queens, priestess, women disciples, even some would consider deaconess. In Romans 16:1, Dorcas, she was a woman disciple. We have plenty of examples of these prominent women. So if the Bible is so misogynistic and the Israelite tradition is so misogynistic, why do we have all of these women that are reputed as being great? Men are going to them for prayer. Men are going to them to be delivered from the enemy. Why do we have that? Why do we see that?
I would actually argue, dear brother, that those women are exceptions to the rule. There are many times that we hear very powerful men in the Bible, and we hear that they have a wife. They don't even name their wives.
Filibuster. He even addressed what I said, but I make him address it. But before I continue with the little clip and the little discussion, you know, the 1-2 combo that he got hit with, got knocked out. I want to actually read the Maxims, because he said it wasn't divinely inspired, and that's his opinion. You know, arbitrarily arguing. It's not from, you know, arbitrary argument means you're not doing it from authority, but rather of opinion. So right here it says, permit your humble servants to appoint a staff of old age. Let my son be allowed to succeed to my position. To that end, I will instruct him in the decisions of the judges, the wisdom of those who have lived in early ages, those who hearken to the gods. Now, those that live in the early ages are his ancestors. Because some people say, oh, that word God should be ancestors. But no, he's already reverenced his his ancestors in the line before. It says those who hearken to the gods. So this is the wisdom that he's sharing in the Maxims. The Maxims of Ptah Hotep is the wisdom passed down from his ancestors that they got from the gods. So you can't say that it's not divinely inspired. You can't say that. You can't use that. You either don't know the text or you're being ignorant on purpose. Willfully ignorant. So let's get back to the clip and slash slaughter session. And for him, this is disco night. He's getting his little groove on right now.
Like, for example, when we hear about Noah, we hear that Noah and his sons are on the ark and their wives. We don't hear anything about their wives. These women are supposed to repopulate all of human civilization. Aren't they important? I think that there are some women who have importance in the Christian Bible. That is not something that I would disagree with. But I'm saying that overall, there are many things in the Bible that I take great issue with. You've heard.
This is called adjusting somebody. He basically had to shift and adjust his whole opinion after the information was released. Oh, there were many women, or there were some, he wants to say some women, you know, but there were many women that did great things in the scriptures. And they're not the exception of the rule. If we can find multiple cases where they're queens, priestess, disciples, diakonos in the Greek, in Romans 16, that word is used to describe a sister. We have multiple instances. Even the Hasmonean dynasty, you got Salome of Alexandria, who her husband, you know, passed the rulership to her, and he died, and she became the independent ruler, and she was loved for her knowledge and her wisdom. And she also led an army into Damascus. That's what this woman had done. So how do you have that happening if we're misogynistic? That was my point. So he had to acquiesce and readjust. 1-2 punch combo, he added it, man. We're going to finish the clip.
Heard me say some things that I take great issue with. You're aware of some of those things. I think that if you read them in context, they are damning. I mean, for example, I think that most Bible followers would actually really hearken to. In fact, most people who follow the Bible don't know much about the Bible, but they certainly know their 10 Commandments, right? Right?
No, we're not a part of that group. We're not a part of that.
Interesting. I think it's very interesting. I didn't ask you about you. I said most Bible followers. That's what I said. I said most Bible followers may not know much about the many of the passages of the Bible, but most of them are very familiar with the 10 Commandments. That's what I said. So I'm not necessarily saying that it may not be you, but I think you could agree with me that most Christians will follow the 10 Commandments. In fact, the 10 Commandments have become so popular that there are even some people who, I mean, there was even a judge in Alabama that, you know, got removed from the bench because he wanted to place a several ton size statue of the 10 Commandments. And he said that this was the basis of human civilization. So there are many Bible followers. I even argue most Bible followers who are familiar with the Ten Commandments. I think that most people are not familiar that the Ten Commandments were written for men.
Jabari, pardon me.
And
What does that
so
have to
I
do
think
with
that,
the
wait, hold on. Let me finish my statement, and then maybe you can respond. So I think that what ends up happening is there are certainly women in the Bible that are of importance. I would never say to you that there are not. But
Jabari has been adjusted. He had to say it on Candy Cam. He had to, because you're not speaking to no ignorant one here. Genesis 49, we're here to build our people up. We're entrenched in this custom. We're digging deep into the wisdom. You see what I'm saying? We're not deep wells with no water. You're gonna go into that well, you're gonna find water, man. You're gonna find substance. So Jabari gotta adjust it, man. You can't go around spreading the lie that the Bible is misogynistic. If you find all these different examples of women reaching prominent goals and reaching prominent positions and being revered, like I brought out, it was women like Judith. Men were going to her for prayer to deliver the people from the enemy. They went to her for wisdom. They celebrated her until she died. And after she died, they still remembered her. She became an icon of Bethulah. We have many examples like that. You're misogynistic. You hate women. How? How?
I think that when you read the entire book, there are many sections of the book that give us the sense that women are not as important as men. And that in fact, the kingdom was given to the man, and that women are there to assist him at best. And there are other things that are even more disturbing about things that have been said about women. And so that is what I'm referring to. I think that and Pastor Russ today said to me that we don't follow those things. And I said, I respect that you don't follow them. But I would think that what you should do is say that these are things that we will not follow, and make a very clear announcement in your group, publicly, wherever, that there's some things that you think are edifying and some things that you do not. And I have not heard that. Instead, what I hear is that the Bible verbatim is the word of God. That's what I hear most times. And I'm sure you've heard that as well.
All right. Let me I want to move on to
So y'all witnessed it. He got adjusted. He had to admit, to his folly. Admit that the women were prominent. Admit about the Maxims of Ptah Hotep. And he basically said if that's the right translation, then he'll just say we don't need to follow that. Even though it's ancient African tradition, it's ancient African wisdom. That's divinely inspired. So you can't separate it. Oh, the Bible is this, which had nothing to do with anything. Like, he danced, he skipped, he did the electric slide, he did all the moves. He probably started moonwalking, man. He danced around a lot of things, but we kept putting him back on track, and he got readjusted. He got his wig split wide open by Genesis 49ers. This is what we do. We're going to represent the Most High. We're going to represent our tradition. We're going to continue to study, research, and grow and develop. Like I said before in prior videos, I don't want this just to be a YouTube channel. I want this to grow into something. I want this to grow into a learning center. And then from there, a university, man. We are warned against ignorance. Understand that. But other than that, Jabari did get adjusted. I pray that y'all got edified off this discussion we had, and continue to subscribe to Genesis 49ers, subscribe to Maccabeestv as well. I will be doing an exclusive video for them about the Maxims of Ptah Hotep. With that being stated, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share on the social media platforms, get Genesis 49ers out there. You guys have been doing a good job. I'm about at 2,000 subscribers. I started my channel back in February or March of 2017, and in a short amount of time, I've been able to accumulate and amass a following Getting a lot of views, and I appreciate all the love you brothers and sisters is giving to the channel. I will continue